afternoon, everyone. My name's James Jacobs, Head of Accessibility at Jadu, and I'm going to give you a quick or lightning accessibility update on what we've been up to over the last 12 months with regards to accessibility and what we're going to be focusing on over this coming year. Talked about this a bit today, had a prize, but yeah, last year we announced our mission to become the world's most accessible digital platform, and it's something that's incredibly important to us. It really makes sure that accessibility is at the core of everything we do, from our design decisions, development, testing, and product decisions, really. So I'm going to talk you through just some slides, some highlights from the last 12 months on kind of what we've been working on that feeds into that mission. So really excited to tell you that we've grown the accessibility team. Back in April, we welcomed Katrina, who joined us as an accessibility specialist. Katrina joins us from a background in digital publishing and brings a wealth of experience to the team. So welcome, Katrina. So a lot of focus, a lot of work has gone into what I'm going to call revisiting the foundations. And you'll often hear me say that we like to consider accessibility down to a component level. And this is a picture from my youngest daughter's Lego box. I'm sure kind of parents out there will be familiar with this. You've got a big old box of Lego, lots of different pieces from kits all thrown together. Makes for fun trying to build things, but you can draw, a great analogy, and it's been done many times before when you're building for the web. But especially, I think it's relevant to accessibility, because if those individual pieces, those individual components aren't accessible, then everything you build with those components aren't going to be accessible. Be it a form, a page, a full website, or in our case, a full platform. So when I say accessibility down to a component level, let me give you a quick example of just some of the things that we need to consider. So if we take a fairly standard form component that's seen on millions of forms, a collection of checkboxes with a label and a little bit of help text. So what do we need to consider from an accessibility point of view? First of all, it goes without saying, those checkboxes need labels, and we need a group label to provide context for that group of checkboxes. But we also need to do things like consider the border contrast ratio of the individual checkboxes, keyboard focus indicators, so what happens when a keyboard user tabs to the checkboxes. Does that focus indicator contrast enough with its surrounding colours? How about its checked and unchecked state? Target size, a new one in WCAG 2, previously existed as a AAA requirement. Is it big enough for people to be able to select easily? Are we using the correct semantic elements? Really important for screen readers. How about the required state? Is that visually conveyed? Does that text meet the contrast requirements? And is it programmatically conveyed as well, so screen reader users will know that that it's a required field? Got some help text there. Again, text contrast requirements. Is it descriptive? Is it meaningful? And again, is it associated with those inputs so it's read by screen readers? There's many more, like the error state, the messaging, the styling, and everything else, but just a little example of kind of what we have to consider when we're drilling down to a component level when we talk about accessibility. And a lot of this work kind of goes on behind the scenes. A lot of accessibility, it's not particularly flashy. You can't always show it off. Sometimes it's not even visual. It's just kind of in the code. But we've been doing loads of work around our design systems, component libraries, templates, themes, galaxies, widgets, and loads more. And this is, it ties into that mission, super critical to make sure that what we deliver not only meets the WCAG conformance, what we view as really the floor, but also those many best practices that are above and beyond WCAG. So again, tying in with that mission, another major area of focus has been around internal training and knowledge. I'm bringing a touch on this earlier, but we've tried to take a real holistic approach to everything that we do regarding training and accessibility. So we've done things like start new starter training. So all new starters to Jadu, they receive a 3-hour session on the importance of accessibility, things that we need to consider, why it's important for our customers, the legal aspect, the moral aspect, and everything else. We then have a secondary role-specific session, specifically for like designers, developers, testers, content creators, that really drills into the kind of specifics for their role. And we repeat those sessions periodically, normally every 3 months, just to make sure that knowledge is kind of kept current, if there's been any changes, any new best practices that we've adopted. And we've kind of tied that in with how we have our internal resources as well. So we have something called the Jadu Accessibility Guidelines, which is kind of like an internal knowledge base around everything to do with accessibility, from kind of code examples, technical things like how best to use ARIA, testing resources, and non-technical documents as well. So really just trying to drive that team knowledge. We do have that accessibility team, but we want everyone at Jadu to kind of be an accessibility expert within their field. Also been working on a few educational videos on YouTube, something that we're really looking forward to pushing forward with over this next year as well. But yeah, absolutely crucial to our commitment to accessibility. This ties in really well, actually. So something that we've started is what we've called the Jadu Accessibility Champions. So this is, you may or may not have heard of CAN, so the absolutely awesome Champions of Accessibility Network, which is like a global group of accessibility professionals that get together every now and again to just discuss everything related to accessibility. So we've kind of modelled it around that. We've got people from across the team in Jadu who meet regularly for extra training, specific to a voted topic. So the 2-hour sessions, first session is around training. Second session is just open discussion, really. Could cover things like issues that we've seen reported. Perhaps we've had external audits done on some of our sites. Best practices, law changes, or emerging standards like WCAG 3. Which a few people have asked me about, so I'm going to touch on that in a second. And this really just further embeds accessibility on a cultural and a team level. Might be something that is worth considering as well, implementing in your organisations. If you'd like any guidance or advice or kind of lessons learned, reach out to me. Happy to discuss it. So another huge area of focus has been around our control centre. So we have been undertaking a full platform-wide in-depth manual accessibility audit of the entire control centre across the platform. Many hundreds of UIs, different states, error states, modals, custom components, custom functionality. All of these things need to be accessible. And this is something that we do periodically as well. It's not the first time we've done it. Just to ensure really that our back end is just as accessible as our front end. And this is ongoing. You should see regular updates in the product release notes where we've identified improvements and made those improvements. Customer success, we have had the pleasure of working with loads of customers this year on many different aspects of accessibility. So preparing for WCAG 2.2, customers that just generally want to push accessibility forward, which is awesome. We've supported in a number of different ways, from full-blown audits, content-related advice, training, and there are many more customers that I could fit on this slide, so there are just a few that I could grab. So if I've left you out, please don't be offended. Related to that, we've seen some great success, or rather our customers have, on things like the Silk Tide Index, which is something that we monitor on a monthly basis. Lots of great results for both new go-lives and existing sites where it's wonderful to see customers really prioritising accessibility. And a quick shout out to Silk Tide, wonderful platform, makes it really easy to kind of continuously monitor accessibility as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Just a little bit of a note, really. I speak to many customers about the kind of top 30 of the Silk Tide Index, and it is super competitive now. 99% is now the score as of this month, which you need to get in that top 30. So a real, commitment to accessibility. And we see a common theme, really, with some issues that tend to drag sites down a little bit around perhaps WCAG 2.2 issues that's not been addressed. PDFs, no one likes PDFs. Cookie banners, kind of third-party code, so chatbots, cookie banners are your normal culprits as well, and of course still some content issues. So over the next 12 months, we are kind of largely going to be doing the same, really. Continuing with the control center improvements. Again, keep an eye on the release notes for more information. One thing I can't say too much yet, but really excited to tell you about is some of the accessibility user testing that we're going to be doing. So we're going to be testing various parts of the platform with some of our partners, with groups of people of varying disabilities. So this is kind of not so much from a conformance point of view, more about making sure that we deliver that absolutely best in accessible experience, because you can have a UI, you can have a page that's perfectly WCAG conformant, but not necessarily the best experience for someone like Robin, who we've just seen that uses a screen reader or other disabilities. We're going to be looking at improving some of the accessibility tools we've got within the platform. So within Jadu Central, at the moment, we have the accessibility checker, which you can see when you preview a home page or a document page. And we're going to be swapping that out for something called Sally, which is a more established, more kind of feature-rich accessibility checker that largely operates the same, but we believe will allow you to catch kind of more potential content-related accessibility issues before you publish any content. We're also, I can't remember if this was discussed earlier, but we're also exploring new content editors. So the content editor that you see throughout the platform, you may know it's a product called CK Editor. And we're looking at moving away from that. And it's proving quite a challenge because we need to find an editor that is both really accessible in itself, but also allows you to create that wonderfully accessible content as well. So more information on them two things to come soon. Lots of conversation about AI today. We are exploring, very early days, exploring potential use cases for AI within the platform with an accessibility focus. Really early stages, but some of that focus will be around PDFs, which obviously are notoriously difficult to make accessible. So just a little call to action, really. If you could send me your PDFs, if you've got any particularly nasty ones, untagged PDFs, lots of layers, lots of nastiness, please do send that to us, either via support, or you can send it to me directly, James. I should have put it on there, shouldn't I? James.jacobs at jadu.co.uk. So quite a few customers have asked me about WCAG 3, so version 3 of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. We're monitoring developments, but it's nothing to be worried about, really. It's likely many, many years away. What we have at the moment is really just an outline, a skeleton of a working draft. Not a great deal of information apart from a potential structure which might be used in further working drafts. So really limited information. It's been suggested that when it does finally reach maturity, it will run in parallel with WCAG 2 for a number of years as well. Obviously legislation and everything would potentially need to change to make it a legal requirement. So something that we're paying close attention to, but nothing really to report on yet. The only two kind of takeaways really are that with the new structure, they have some potentially new success criteria, although they're not called that anymore. And these are flagged as exploratory. So these are things that they're investigating, the working group are investigating that might add to WCAG 3. The good news is that many of these kind of exploratory requirements we kind of already meet because they're based on existing best practices. So that's definitely a positive. What's also interesting interesting is that some of these new, again, exploratory requirements are based around content best practices. So when WCAG 3 finally comes around, it's likely we're going to see tighter requirements around actual web content. Again, next year, we're going to have an increased focus on resources that we can provide to you as a customer. So really kind of educational resources, guides. We want to revisit the Jadu library and see what we can do there around accessibility content. And again, look at more educational videos. And last slide from me, really just a reminder that we're here to support you. Jadu has its own accessibility team. If you need any help, please reach out to us. Always happy to talk. Also, WCAG 2.2 is now a requirement, and the GDS monitoring team are auditing to 2.2 from this month. So if you are unsure if your site meets WCAG 2.2, now is definitely the time to seek an audit, either through us or one of our partners. Now's the time to act. Any questions, anything you want to know about accessibility, I'll be here till, well, we're nearly done, aren't we? But here to the end of the day, so please reach out and grab me. Thank you very much.